Hello and welcome back. So in our previous lesson, we talked about the 5 resources that will get you started in web development, mainly front-end web development with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And in one of those 5 resources, I mentioned CodePen for your testing ground. So in this lesson, we're going to cover how to get started with CodePen, and we'll go through creating our first pin and saving it to our account, so that you can have it as a reference for future builds. Let's go ahead and get started. Now, if you haven't done so, we're going to go through create an account. I'll post the link to CodePen directly in the show notes. First thing I want you to do is go to sign up. If you have one of these accounts, go ahead and use one of them to sign in to CodePen. Otherwise, sign up with your email account. You're going to go ahead and put in your first name. Go ahead and choose a username of your choice. Sometimes that username may be taken already, so it may take you a few tries, but once you have it, you'll be ready to go. Choose the email account that you're going to check often, as well as a password that you'll remember. So go ahead and take a few minutes to get that created and submit, and I'll see you in a moment. Once you've signed into your account, you may have seen the tour. Most people click off the tour and you forget about that. If you decide you want to revisit that tour that showed up originally, you can go down to the very bottom, go to documentation, and in the interactive tours was the intro pin editor tour. That's going to walk you back through that hello world pin that they create, give you an example in HTML, give you an example in CSS, as well as JavaScript. But in this case, we'll go through creating our pins together. So I'm going to go back to the main site. And what we have here is we go back to our dashboard kind of setting here, where we can create our pins. These are going to be our snippet examples of mini projects, mini lessons. You can create, on the free account, you can create one project, and you can also add to a collection. So in this case, we're going to start with a brand new pin. All pins are titled, untitled. I would recommend to title your pin based on what it is you're creating. In this particular one, we'll do our own hello world. So I'm going to click on the pin, and I'm going to type out the hello world. I'm going to go ahead and hit enter to save that pin title. And then I can go over to the save to save this pin to my account. And that's going to enable the auto-saved enabled. With CodePen, you're given 3 different text box areas. One for your HTML, which is going to be your structure of your document. Then you're going to be given the CSS box for all of our styling, and our JavaScript for all of our behaviors that we're going to add to our examples. For this very first one, we're going to stick with our HTML, and then we'll add just a little bit of CSS to get us started. So first up, we'll keep this simple, and we're just going to type out the word hello world, and we're going to use the H1 tag, which is going to be our first heading level 1. So I'm going to do a open bracket, or the chevron, H1 closing bracket. That's the opening tag of our heading 1 element. I like to close off my tags right away. So I'm going to do a closing H1. That way I don't forget to close it and then it becomes a problem later on. And then in between these 2 tags, open and close, I'm going to put my content, which I'll put the word hello world and the exclamation mark. That's going to give us that hello world content. It's going to display it in the preview below. and in the H1 format. Now, if you don't prefer this layout, CodePen gives you an option to change your layout. So if I go to change view, and maybe you want your text areas or your code editors to be on the left-hand side with a much bigger preview on the right-hand side, you can. Or maybe you want to do the reverse where you have the preview on the left-hand side and your text editors here on the right-hand side, or the default, which is just below, where then you can take these black bars and you can move these around to set yourself up and provide the maximum amount of space needed for these areas. One cool thing about CodePen is if I wanted to add an emoji in here, I can put my cursor just in front of the word hello. I'm going to right click and I'm going to go to emoji, and I'm going to put in the thumbs up. And I'll have a thumbs up emoji with the word hello world. And now I can add just a little bit of styling. All this content down here in the preview is part of the body inside of our HTML document. So I can just go ahead and style that body directly. In CSS, this is called a rule. So I'm going to do the body selector with our open and close curly brackets, and I'll hit enter. And I'm going to choose a background color. So I'm going to write the word background hyphen color followed by a colon, and I'm going to do the color orange followed by a semicolon, and I'm going to make that text white. So I'm going to go ahead and do color, and I'm going to use the white for my color. And I'm going to provide some text align center. All right, so we're looking pretty good here. These two languages, HTML and CSS, are going to be independent of one another, but they're going to work hand in hand. I provide myself a space for my HTML, the word hello world, and a little bit of styling in my first initial hello world pin that I will have reference to and that I can change or come back to as I need. So this is our basic introduction to CodePen. I recommend that even though the autosave is set up, that you just save one more time before exiting. If you ever need to come back to this particular pin here, you can go up to the right-hand corner, your profile, click on, and you can go to your work or profile, and that's going to take you to your previous work, which then gets you back to that pin you just created, and then you can reopen that pin as needed, and that gets you back to the pin in case you want to add some more. And if you're done with that and you want to move on, you can click on the CodePen icon in the upper left-hand corner. That's going to take you back to sort of like your dashboard here with anybody you're following, any trending, and all of your work. And that's our introduction to CodePen.io. So in the next lesson, we're going to be covering and diving into more of the HTML language, learning about headers, paragraphs, lists, links, and images, and how they stack together so that we can create our first one-page website. Thanks for watching.